Good evening, students. I hope you all are doing good and I hope your preparation is going fine. Welcome to The Analyst. This is 29th of July 2023 and we are here to discuss important articles from The Hindu and the Indian Express. Now the handouts for this session are there in the description box. You can use those handouts to streamline your current affairs preparation. Now let us see the table of contents for today. See, first very important topic which we are going to take on today is your India-Japan relations, right? It's there in The Hindu, page number 11. Second important topic is related to mob lynching, which is very important from your social issues perspective, right? Third topic is related to Finance Commission, whereby the talks related to setting up of 16th Finance Commission has been ongoing. And the last topic we are going to take today is your semiconductor industry in India and the environment related to semiconductor in our country. So let us start with the first topic. Now, S. Jaishankar, who is the External Affairs Minister of our country, he has said that India-Japan will work to strengthen their peacetime cooperation. Now, in relation to that, we will study the broader relationship and the overall cooperation between India and Japan in variety of respects. Now, why it is important? Again, for your GS paper 2, international relations, where your bilateral relations have been mentioned in the syllabus, from that perspective, it becomes very, very important. Now, let us first of all, before starting, see the map of India and Japan. Now, India, as you can see, it is here. And if you go to the extended neighborhood, to the easternward side of India, this is where you will be finding Japan. Right? So there is a considerable distance between India and Japan. Now, once we have seen the map, let us study about the background information and the background relationship between India and Japan. Now, India and Japan has signed a special strategic and global partnership. So both of the countries are having a special strategic and global partnership, which is focusing on strategic issues and which is also a global partnership. That is, on the global issues also, we are partnering with each other. Now, second thing is that we are having deep cultural and civilizational ties with Japan. Now, if you go thousands and thousands years back also, there are instances of Japanese travelers traveling all the way to India and exploring India's culture. And there are also instances of Indian travelers traveling to Japan and seeing their culture and civilization. So since ancient times, we are having civilizational connect. People-to-people relation between India and Japan are there since time immemorial, which also says that there is a very deep cultural and civilizational bond between India and Japan, which roots its relationship together. Right. Now, once we have understood this background information, let us see that in current context, in what many spheres India and Japan are cooperating. Now, first things first, we need to understand about the economic relationship between India and Japan. Now, before understanding the economic relationship, you should know that India and Japan have signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which you call as CEPA, which means that economically India and Japan are very, very close partners. Also, if we talk about our bilateral trade, it has been close to your $20 billion as of the year 2020-2021. And if we talk about investment also, Japan has been a considerable contributor to the foreign direct investments in our country. And also one more thing, that India is the 18th largest trading partner of Japan. And Japan in turn is the 12th largest trading partner for India, if you talk about the year 2020 or 2021. Now, one more thing in economic sense is that we are having a currency swap agreement as well. Now, currency swap agreement means what? That we are swapping our currencies so that in the foreign reserves which we are holding, we can get each other's currency. So there is a currency swap agreement as well, which happened in the year 2018, where India and Japan signed a deal of currency swap agreement of your close to $75 billion US dollars, which again shows that economically both the countries are very strategically aligned. Now, one more thing is that both the countries are also a part of your supply chain resilience initiative, which was formed during the backdrop of COVID. Now, because of COVID, supply chain in the entire world became redundant. They were not able to function properly because of the lockdowns imposed by several country governments, several state governments, several local governments as well. So because of that, supply chain throughout the world, through which goods and services are supplied from one place to another, it got dysfunctional. Now, in order to bridge that gap and in order to make our supply chain more resilient, more robust, we signed an initiative and we became a part of initiative which included India, Japan, and Australia. And the short form of the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative is also your SCRI. So in supply chain respects as well, so that the production happens non-stop and there is no negative effect to the production of any of the country. For that, we have signed the Supply Chain Resilience Initiative as well. Now let us talk about the defense and security cooperation, defense and security partnership between India and Japan. Now you all know that there are 2+2 meetings which are being held. We have had these 2+2 meetings with the US as well, and we are having these 2+2 meetings with Japan as well, which basically includes your foreign minister and your defense minister of both the countries coming together, having a talk and deliberating on the pressing issues of that time and the issues which are there between the countries and the various global issues which the both countries can collaborate on and cooperate upon. So this 2+2 meetings also becomes very, very essential. And normally you must have seen that after these 2+2 meetings generally, after that only there is a state visit of the head of a state or head of the government. Like after this 2+2 meeting only, many times you must have seen that our Prime Minister Modi have visited Japan, or the Prime Minister of Japan has visited India. So this 2+2 meetings become a very important criteria for ensuring that what agenda would be taken on a state visit, right? So that you need to understand. Plus we are having defense ministerial dialogue as well, where defense ministers, right, or defense secretaries of both the countries, they also collaborate, they have a dialogue, and again, they deliberate on the agendas which are pressing the defense-related and security-related issues between these two countries. And the common defense issues, common security issues which both are facing, and how we can solve them better through collaboration, through cooperation. So I guess that is also very clear to all of you. Now, Dharma Guardian is a special joint military exercise which both the countries have among themselves. So in that respect also, they are contributing and they are collaborating in defense sector and ensuring the security of both the countries. Now, along with this Dharma Guardian, there is also a very famous exercise which you call as Veer Guardian. Now, what this Veer Guardian does is that what happened in the year 2023, the air forces of both the countries, they had a joint exercise. And that exercise was termed as your Veer Guardian. So I hope the economic relationship, the economic cooperation, and the defense and security cooperation between both the countries is very clear to all of you. Now, also one more thing which we need to understand is that Japan has signed a civil nuclear agreement in November of 2016 with India. So with respect to nuclear technology also, with respect to civil nuclear cooperation as well, using the nuclear energy for civil related purposes, which includes your energy generation, electricity, and all the other kind of purposes. So having that civil nuclear agreement with Japan also makes Japan a very strategic partner and a very, very important partner for India. Also, if we talk about science and technology related aspects, we are collaborating on various projects throughout India which requires assistance of Japanese technology, which requires assistance of Japanese high research and development in order to make our projects more robust. Now, here is a map also, which I have included for all of you, which includes main infrastructure projects which are happening in India with the Japanese involvement. Now, you all know some bullet trains are also there, which are being planned in India with the Japanese involvement. This Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, right? This western dedicated freight corridor, there are also Japanese technology is being used. Then if we talk about the various subways across India, which includes New Delhi subway, Kolkata subway, Chennai subway, Mumbai subway, Ahmedabad subway, right? Then high-speed rail at this area. It is also being developed with Japanese cooperation. So all in all, what I want to tell you all is that Japan has been a major partner in relation to technology and science cooperation with our country. Many of the Japanese countries, the countries which are, many of the Japanese companies, in fact, the companies which have their origin from Japan, they are running their businesses successfully in India. This is a list, small list of companies which are there in India and which are of Japanese origin. It includes very famous companies like your Nikon. It also includes Honda. It also includes Toyota, then Canon. It includes your Sony also. So very, very important companies, prominent companies in India's market. They are also Japanese origin. That means India and Japan are certainly having a deep ties in relation to science and technology also, in relation to economy also, in relation to defense and security also. Plus, we both are collaborating on our Indo-Pacific vision as well. Now, why Indo-Pacific is important? Because Japan is also a part of Indo-Pacific region. We saw the map as well. Japan falls in the Indo-Pacific periphery only. And for India also, Indo-Pacific region is very important. Plus, there is a factor of China, that China is a threat for both India and Japan. China is having border tensions with India as well. China is having several tensions with Japan as well, where several of the islands in the Indo-Pacific region, China is claiming, but they are contentious between China and Japan. So with that respect, to counter the influence of China in the Indo-Pacific region and to ensure a free, fair and inclusive Indo-Pacific region, it is very important that India and China collaborate with each other. And they partner with each other in order to ensure security of the Indo-Pacific region, so that it remains free and fair. And also it remains open and inclusive, so that the resources in the Indo-Pacific region can be freely used by all. And the hegemony of just one country in the Indo-Pacific region is not established, right? So in that way also, both India and China are having deep collaborations. Plus, if we talk about international institutions as well, for example, your UN Security Council, both India and Japan are very high contenders to become the permanent members of your UN Security Council. And many other countries are also supporting countries like India, countries like Japan, your Brazil, various countries like these, many other countries are also supporting us, right? Because they also believe that India and Japan have a rightful place to become the permanent member of your UN Security Council. Because both of them are superpowers, both of them are having substantial influence on the world politics, both of them are having considerable economic influence also in the world. Because Japanese companies, you saw that how prosperous they are. Japanese technology also you saw. In relation to defense as well, both the countries are very powerful, right? So if we talk about the whole world dynamics, India and Japan, their cooperation, their partnership, and individual capability also of both the countries is very, very strong, which makes us both a very strong contender for the permanent membership of the UNSC, right? So this all, I hope, gives you a brief idea about the Indo-Japan relationship, right? Now let us move on to the second topic. Second topic is related to your social issues, and it is related to your mob lynchings. So Supreme Court has asked Center and 6 of the states to respond to a plea on the mob lynchings, right? Why it is important for us? Again, our GS paper 1, where social empowerment, communalism, regionalism, secularism, and various other social issues are taken up. In relation to that, your mob lynching becomes important. And also it is a serious issue if we talk about our nation as well. So we need to discuss on that as well. Now, first of all, my first question to all of you is that what do you mean by mob lynching, right? Now, if I have to give an answer, mob lynching, if we take the literal meaning of the word, it is that killing of a person or targeted killing of a person or targeted vandalism of a particular area by a mob. The motivations of the mob and why mob is doing those things, that we are not considering here. But if a particular group of people, they are targeting a person based on any respect and without following the law and order, and they are trying to harm that person, they're trying to kill that person, that kind of killing is what you call as a mob lynching, where a mob is lynching, that is killing a particular person. So it is a act of targeted violence by what? By a large group of people. I hope this is very clear to all of you. Now, what is important for us is that we need to understand why the mob lynching, which is such a heinous crime, which is such a heinous act, why it is happening in our country. Because the cases of mob lynching year on year are on rise, right? That we all know. But what is the cause of it? What is the root cause of mob lynching in our country? So the first and foremost cause is the increasing intolerance among people in our country. Whether be it caste intolerance, whether be it class intolerance, whether be it religious intolerance, various kind of intolerances are on rise in our country. Now, reasons to that intolerance can be multitudinal. It can be societal reasons as well. It can be your socio-economic reasons as well. Sometimes it can be political reasons as well, right? So, rising intolerance among the people. Now, it's not that intolerance is rising now only. If we talk about the 1947, what happened in our independence, at that time also intolerance was very, very high. So the problem of intolerance is not new. The problem of intolerance is very, very old. And it is a very bad thing that it is deep-rooted in our country. Because of this, such heinous crimes like mob lynching is happening. Now, what are the solutions to correct this intolerance? That we will discuss some other time. But what we need to understand is that society's intolerance or intolerance of many sections of the society is a cause to this mob lynching. Also, misinformation and rumor mongering. This is the age of social media. So in this age, misinformation can spread very, very easily. And rumors can be spread very, very easily. Some wrong information about a person, that a particular person is a child thief, particular person is a molester. If this kind of misinformation is spread on social media, which includes your WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter as well, if certain kind of misinformation is spread, and then mob or people of a particular area, they get triggered, and then they form a mob and they lynch different people. So this is also a cause of this mob lynching. Lack of speedy justice. Now, if those who are doing mob lynching, if they are seeing that, okay, justice is being done and justice is being done speedily, then according to many theorists, according to many learned people, then people would not feel the need to take law and order in their hand. And then we might be able to protect mob lynching. Because one of the reasons of mob lynching is that many times people feel that justice will not be served. That is why people take law and order in their hand and they feel, okay, if the government or the police is not able to do justice, we will take law in our hand and we will provide instant justice, which is very wrong for a civil and a peaceful society. But lack of speedy justice is also a reason. Then law and order inefficiency. Now again, recurring to the previous reason as well, lack of law and order, inefficiency of law and order is also a major reason for this mob lynchings. Then certain kind of biases. Now biases and intolerance, they go hand in hand. Because once we develop certain kind of biases against a particular region, let's say, or against a particular group of people, against a particular section of society, against a particular community, against a particular class of people, when biases gets developed, ultimately it leads to intolerance, which in turn causes your mob lynching. Right? So these are the multi-dimensional causes of your mob lynching. What kind of mob lynchings are there? Some mob lynchings are there when a person is accused of child lifting, that he kidnaps children. That person is targeted, but just on some information. No clarity is there, right? Honor killing is there, right? That is also one of the type of mob lynching. Theft cases, there is a theft. In that cases also, communal based mob lynching is also there, right? So multitude ways in which a mob lynches, and this basically shows the motivation of that mob, that what target or what specific thing triggered that mob to lynch a particular person, right? So this is related to the types of mob lynching. Now Supreme Court, our Honorable Supreme Court, in Tehreem Poonawalla versus Union of India case in 2018, gave certain directives to the government and state governments, central government and the state governments. And it said that certain guidelines need to be followed, certain steps need to be taken in order to stop this problem of mob violence. So infographic, I've included it for you. First of all, Supreme Court has said that we need to set up fast track courts in order to solve this problem and do speedy justice with the people who have been accused, right? Then Supreme Court has also ordered to designate officer of a SP rank, that is Superintendent of Police, SP rank as the nodal officer in each of the district to prevent this mob violence. So Supreme Court has also said that in each district, a SP ranked officer would be the nodal officer to prevent your mob violence in that area. Plus, it has also said that police, your district administrations, failure to comply with Supreme Court directions will be deemed deliberate negligence. That is, if police, if district administration fail to comply with this order of Supreme Court will be considering it as a deliberate negligence. That is, deliberately you were negligent and you did not act on the guidelines. Also, center and states have to broadcast radio, TV and online messages warning that lynching and mob violence shall invite serious consequences. So you need to make the people aware, make the population aware that if you indulge in mob violence or mob lynching, you will be inviting serious consequences. Right? This is what the directive of Supreme Court says. Also, FIR, that is your first information report, must be there against persons spreading such fake and irresponsible messages, which ultimately becomes a cause for your mob violence. So FIR must be registered against those people. And states also to draw up a compensation scheme. to compensate the victims of the mob violence, with provision for interim relief to victims' next kin within 30 days. So within the 30 days, a interim relief and overall a compensation scheme by the state for the lynching victims need to be set up by the state governments. This is the directive of the Supreme Court. Also, lynching cases to be tried by fast-track courts, which we discussed as the first point. In each district, this fast-track court would be there, and preferably the hearing should be concluded in less than 6 months. So these all orders or these all points or guidelines were issued by the Supreme Court under this Tehreem Poonawalla versus Union of India 2018. Now, what is the way forward to solve this issue and solve this heinous crime? First is that we need to follow the Supreme Court directive. All the state governments need to frame the laws. Overall sensitization of the society needs to be there, because this is a social issue. This is not a political issue, this is a social issue, right? Obviously, some political, economic, other cultural angles are there. But overall, it is a social issue, and it can be solved by what? By sensitization of the people, by making them aware that what they are doing is wrong, is heinous, and is criminal offense, right? So sensitization of the general public needs to be there. Then Supreme Court directives needs to be followed. All these directives, they need to be followed diligently by all the states. Enact state laws. While following these judgment, you need to enact certain state laws as well. 4 of the states currently have enacted some kind of laws or the other related to mob violence. We'll be seeing that also in brief. Then address the fake news which is there in the social media platforms, because that is one of the most primary cause by which this mob lynching is happening. So we need to address this fake news which is happening around the country. So all these measures can be taken to solve this heinous crime and this heinous issue of mob violence and mob lynching. Now, if you want to see some of the states which have enacted the laws, it includes your Jharkhand, it includes Rajasthan, it includes West Bengal, and it includes Manipur. Now, Jharkhand is having the Prevention of Mob Violence and Mob Lynching Bill of 2021. So they have tried to legislate on this issue. And the punishments are there ranging from 3 years in prison to life imprisonment also in case of the death of the victims. In Jharkhand, it is this case. Then Rajasthan also, it's having Rajasthan Protection from Lynching Bill 2019. Again, it provides for life imprisonment and fine of 1 lakh to 5 lakh rupees to those who are convicted in the cases of mob lynching where the victim dies. Then West Bengal also is having the West Bengal Prevention of Lynching Bill 2019, and Manipur is also having Manipur Protection of Mob Violence Bill 2018. So these 4 are the states which have legislated on this mob violence, right? Acts in some states are yet to be passed, but at least they have done this basic thing to introduce a bill, right? To formulate a bill in order to make proper laws in relation to this mob violence. And recently only Supreme Court has said, or Supreme Court has asked the center and the states to legislate on this, right? So that is also what will be happening. Now coming to the third topic of today, it is related to your Finance Commission. Now there is an editorial which is related to charting the path of the 16th Finance Commission. Now 16th Finance Commission is set to be established, which will be recommending the financial devolution from center to the states for the coming 5 years, right? So what is Finance Commission? Some basic details about Finance Commission we'll be studying. Not the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission, but overall, I just want you all to understand and know that what is Finance Commission and what is its various purposes. So for our GS paper 3, Indian economy, Finance Commission is important. For your GS paper 2 as well, for the polity section, governance section, this Finance Commission becomes important. Now what you need to understand is what is this Finance Commission? See, first thing is that it is a constitutional body, right? It is a constitutional body which is established or constituted under Article 280 of our Indian Constitution. So Article 280 of the Constitution of India establishes this constitutional body which you call as Finance Commission, right? And it is constituted every 5 years, right? Every 5 years it is constituted by your Honorable President. So our President constitutes Finance Commission in every 5 years. And there are in total 5 members. One is your chairman, right? Plus 4 other members of this Finance Commission. And if we talk about the first Finance Commission, it was established in the year 1951. And it was enacted under an act which you call as your Finance Commission Miscellaneous Provisions Act of your 1951. So under this act, your first Finance Commission was established. I hope this is very clear to all of you. Now what you need to understand is that what is the basic purpose of this Finance Commission? See, first and foremost purpose of Finance Commission is to make recommendations to the central government, to the center on various aspects, on various regards. Let us see everything in detail. First of all, it makes recommendations on sharing of central taxes to states. So devolution of taxes from center to state, and what percentage of share should be devolved from center to the states. Which body recommends that? Your Finance Commission. So that is the first recommendation. Second is the distribution of central grants to states. Now, central government basically grants some money to the state government for some project, for some initiative, for some scheme. So central government grants are also given to the states. Now, how much grant to give to how many states, to which state? Who recommends that? Your Finance Commission. Plus also the measures, right? Measures to improve the finance of the states, right? To measures to improve the finance of the states. For what? To supplement the resources of your panchayat and municipalities. So the measures which can be taken by the state to improve the finances, to supplement the resources of panchayats and municipalities, this recommendation is given by your Finance Commission. Also, one more thing is that any other matter which is referred to the Finance Commission by the President, in that matter also Finance Commission can recommend to the central government. So what you need to understand is that the role of Finance Commission is advisory in nature. The recommendations made by the Finance Commission in no way binds the central government. But still, Finance Commission, since it is a constitutional body, so 99% of the times, or let's say 100% of the times, the recommendation of Finance Commission are enacted the way they are recommended, right? So in the totality, what we understand is that Finance Commission deals with the financial relationship between center and state, and it ensures fiscal federalism in our country, plus fiscal prudence as well. I hope this is very clear to all of you. Now what you need to understand is that there are two concepts in this Finance Commission devolution. One is the concept of your vertical devolution, where how much share of the taxes or the tax pool should go to the center and how much share should go to the states. That is what Finance Commission recommends. Let's see if you can see here, 58% of the tax proceeds will go to the center, 42% will go to the states, right? This is what you call as vertical devolution, right? Now, once this vertical devolution is done, this 48% which is given to the states, Finance Commission also recommends that how much which state will get. How much of the tax proceeds, how much of this 42% the states will be getting, and how much and how it will be distributed among the states. For that, it comes up with various criteria as well. That in this criteria, states should be given points, and in that respect, this 42% should be distributed among the states. Now, this devolution is what you call as horizontal devolution, right? So we got the concept of vertical devolution and horizontal devolution. Now, if you want to see what formula did 15th Finance Commission use, you can see here. First of all, it used population as a criteria, right? So population was given 15 points. Then area of the state was used as a criteria, that how much state will be getting how much money or how much proceeds of this devoluted money. So 15 was also given to the area. Then forest and ecology was also given some weight. Then demographic performance, income distance, it was also one of the very prominent criteria. Then tax efforts was also there. So all these includes what? All this includes the criteria used by the Finance Commission to basically distribute the tax proceeds among the various states. And this is just the recommendation which Finance Commission is giving, right? Now also if you see that what is the state's share in the divisible pool over the years, you would see that the 11th Finance Commission, it gave 29.5% of the pool of the overall tax proceeds to the states. But if the latest 15th Finance Commission, which will be working or their recommendations would be valid till the year 2025, 2026, they gave 41% of the divisible pool to the states. Why 41%? Because in 2000, when in the 14th Finance Commission, 42% was given, but after the abrogation of Article 370 and after J&K was turned into a union territory, the divisible pool became 41%. Because now J&K is no longer a state, right? So all these things, I hope, makes clear what is the role of the Finance Commission in our country and what is the specific function of the Finance Commission which they are pursuing and which they are doing. Now let us move on to the last topic of today, which is related to the semiconductor industry in our country. Right? Now, recently, just yesterday only, our Honorable Prime Minister has promised that India will be a trusted global partner to the semiconductor makers in our country. And Semicon India Summit has been ongoing in India, right? Which again shows that semiconductor and development of semiconductor in our country is a very topmost priority of the central government. An AMD company has basically announced to invest $400 million in India over the next 5 years for the biggest design center related to your semiconductors. So why this is important? Because GS paper 3, science and technology has been mentioned there. So with respect to that, this topic becomes very important. Now what you need to understand here is, first of all, what is a semiconductor? That is what we need to understand. Now let's break down the name. Conductor, we all know. Conductor is a particular element or is a particular, let's say, it's a particular element only which is good in conducting electricity, right? So electricity can pass through that conductor very easily. Now what do you mean by semiconductor? Semiconductor is a material where electric conductivity value is lower than a conductor but is higher than an insulator. Insulator is a particular material where no electricity can pass, right? So there are two things what you need to understand. First is conductor. Conductor is a material where electricity can pass easily, right? Electricity can flow through that. Second thing is insulator, right? Insulator is a material where the electricity can't pass, which includes your glass. Now glass is your insulator. From glass, electricity will not be able to pass, right? So in between the conductor and insulator, there is a kind of material which you call as semiconductor. That is, it conducts electricity, but not as good as a conductor, right? That is why it is known as semiconductor, that is half conductor. I hope you get it, what is a semiconductor. But why the semiconductor is very crucial? Because if you see all the chips which are manufactured, which are there in your mobile phones, which are there in the smartphones, laptops, or the iPhones which you are using, or in any of the gadgets which you are using, semiconductor chips are required to make that electric gadget function, right? And also in various other technological aspects, the importance of semiconductor is very, very high, right? Which is why semiconductor industry is on the topmost priority of our government. So what we understood, that it is a critical sector where our government is focusing at. And India's consumption of semiconductors as overall semiconductors is expected to cross $80 billion by 2026. Now, $80 billion is a very huge amount, which again shows that the potential of semiconductor industry in our country is very, very huge. And it is expected to reach $110 billion by the year 2030. I hope this is very clear to all of you. But why we are pressing so much for domestic manufacturing of semiconductors? Now, what you need to understand is Taiwan is very popular, and it is extremely popular even more than USA for your semiconductor production. So more than USA, the area or a particular locality or an area, let's say, Taiwan as an area is more popular, is more efficient, and is having more comparative advantage and competitive advantage in the production of semiconductors as compared to even a technological superpower such as USA, right? So semiconductors are being manufactured by these major players. But we need to ensure that semiconductor is domestically manufactured as well, right? Now, why this is so? First of all, semiconductors are the foundation stone for modern electronics industry. I told you earlier why. Also, it will reduce our import dependency, because right now we are importing a lot of semiconductor. And we all know that India's consumption of semiconductor is also expected to reach $80 billion. So in order to reduce our import bill as well, we need to domestically manufacture semiconductors. Plus, overcome disruption in the supply chain. Because many times if we are not able to import or there's shortage in supply, right, then our whole supply chain gets impacted. And manufacturing of other electronic products, they also suffer, right? So we need to have semiconductor manufacturing in our own country. Plus, it is having a lot of strategic significance as well. Because if semiconductor manufacturing happens in our country, we will be able to export a lot of it to various countries that needs it. Thus, we will be a semiconductor supplier to our entire neighborhood as well, right? And to the globe as well. Plus, it will attract a lot of foreign investments. Like we saw many companies, for example, $400 million, $100 million, Foxconn, for example. These companies are investing in our country. So it will create more jobs, more employment opportunities, and ultimately it will be beneficial for our overall economic growth as well, right? Which is why semiconductor industry needs to be basically promoted in our country. Now, what are the various government initiatives? First one is obviously Make in India program. Then India's semiconductor mission, Semicon mission, which you say, Semicon initiative, Semicon summits. Now, semiconductor design companies, right? That is also an initiative that in order to design semiconductors, many companies are given various incentives. Then production linked incentive is one of such incentive where let's say 50% of the support, close to 76,000 crores will be given to the industries or will be given to the companies which manufacture semiconductors. Then chips to startup program plus design linked incentive. These incentives are there which are ultimately promoting the semiconductor industry in our country. But what is important for us to understand is this pie chart you can see which shows the semiconductor sales by country. So the first one here is your USA. Then South Korea is also a major player. Then China is a major player. Then Taiwan is also a major player. Now, if you see just the volume, then you will see that US is bigger than Taiwan here, right? But if you see the competitive advantage, right? Because Taiwan is very small region. US is a full country, right? But still, Taiwan has managed to directly counter the influence of US in the semiconductor market. And it has disrupted the US semiconductor market in variety of ways. That is what we need to understand. And taking lessons from it, we can also develop our domestic manufacturing of semiconductors. And we can directly compete with countries like USA, Japan, South Korea, and China, right? Also, we can compete with Taiwan as well. Now, what we need to understand is this semiconductor mission, India Semiconductor Mission or the Semicon Summit which is happening. In that, what are the guiding proposals, right? Or the guiding principles which will be followed for the proposals which will be given by the semiconductor companies. So what things government will consider and what things will be the guiding principles, what principles will guide the government in order to choose a company to which government will be giving incentive, right? Now what we know is that central government will be funding 50% of the manufacturing. And more than 20% funding will be done by the state governments as well. So a very huge incentive, a huge push, a huge stimulus is given by the central government. But on what principles? See, first principle is that you need to follow the prerequisites. What kind of prerequisites? First of all, company's profile will be viewed, that what is the vision of it, what is the leadership team, technology and operating partners, strong balance sheet should be there, right? Then high-level business plan and the key goals of their business plan, that will also be scrutinized, that will also be viewed. For example, technological partners, their equity contribution, time to first revenue, getting it first time right, equipment sets, then market and offtake agreement also will be taken into consideration. Then viability of a business plan. That is, it is okay, you are meeting the prerequisites, but what is the viability of the business plan which you are having? Right? So total cost, fab setup, operating financial KPIs, time to break even, the cost, how much profit you will be making, right? All those kind of things will be taken up in the viability of the business plan. Now, if viability of business plan is also there, prerequisites are also met. What is very important is that how you secure an execution plan. That how you execute that vision which you are having, that business plan you are having, and what are the prerequisites, how you are executing it. That is what matters to the government. So, preparation plan to ensure success, then periodic review for deliverables and success by your Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, then joint collaboration between local, state, central governments, obviously it will be there, then infrastructure and ecosystem development. So all these things show that the government is having a very serious stake in order to grow the semiconductor manufacturing in our country, right? Which again tells you that semiconductor as a material is very important for us. And it is very probable that question related to the semiconductor can be asked in your UPSC Civil Services examination. So you need to be ready for it. This was the last topic which we covered today. So I hope this lecture was fruitful to you and you learned something from this lecture. Thank you for watching and have a very nice day.